Hi, my name is Nicole. Welcome to my channel, Travel to Money. In this video, I'll explain what it was like after I purchased my home in Spain, doing a lot of renovation and working to make it a great vacation rental property. If you are new here, I have created this channel to help you learn about how to travel, adventure, and have fun on the road to financial independence. I have spent the last few years traveling the world. I paid off a house in Spain, plus I have worked smarter and harder to help me move toward financial independence. I believe that the road to financial freedom can and should be fun. I hope that you'll subscribe and join me on this journey, no matter where you are starting from. In the last video, I explained the process and the costs involved in the actual purchase of my house in Spain. Now, let's get into the experience of actually renovating the property. I had a total of 3 months in Spain. As a non-resident, I can go for a total of 90 days in a rolling period of 180 days. So I had booked the entire 90 days in Spain. The first 30 days was just for the purchase of the property, so now I had 60 days to get everything renovated. Fortunately, on the day I got my keys, across the street was a guy from England that would quickly become a good friend and who I was also able to hire to do a lot of projects for me. Keep in mind that I was working a full-time job during this entire process. My job runs on Eastern Standard Time, so I would be able to work on the house until 2 or 3 every day and then spend the afternoon and evening doing my work. But it's not like I was renovating the house full-time. As a kid, I grew up doing construction types of projects with my dad, so I know how to do a lot of things. At the same time, in a different country, they use different materials, and there is definitely a bit of a learning curve. It was harder for me to find information in English or YouTube videos about how to do a certain thing in the same way that I could find it in the US. Patience is a virtue and one that was exercised for me on a regular basis during this process. I decided that I would take on projects like painting furniture, painting door frames, decorating, and light work. I hired my friend to do some of the bigger projects. The entire middle floor of the house needed to be retiled, as well as the bathroom and a utility room on the ground floor. Fortunately, even though my friend is a jack of all trades, he is a master when it comes to tile. We would make the 30-minute drive to the nearest Leroy Merlin at least twice every week together. Leroy Merlin is basically like a Lowe's or a Home Depot. At the front of each Leroy Merlin is a coffee machine. My friend would say it is tradition to get a coffee, and it became a favorite of mine to have a quick coffee together anytime that we were on an outing to get supplies. A quick note about coffee. I feel like in Europe, it is much more a part of the relational culture to sit and have a coffee together. It is not common to get a coffee and go walk around with it. It's actually one of the things that I have come to love about Europe. Leroy Merlin got a lot of my business during that time. There are also going to be smaller hardware stores in each town. I made several trips to my local hardware store when I needed a single item that I knew they would have, or if I needed to get keys made or something of that sort. Those stores reminded me more of something like an Ace Hardware in the US. In addition to the tile and painting projects that we had going on, I purchased a new washer and dryer, refrigerator, and hot water heater. I ended up with everything electric except for my stove, which still runs on propane. Very few people in Spain will use a dryer, so this is something considered a bit of a luxury. My main reason for choosing electric over propane was that I wanted it to be safe and convenient for guests that would be renting the property. One of my favorite projects was in the bedrooms. I had to think about what furniture I would get rid of, what I would bring in, and what I wanted each room to look like. The entire house was very narrow, so I really had to get creative with the bedrooms, especially the smaller one. Rather than having a nightstand in each room, I asked my friend if he could help me build headboards that attached to the wall that would each come off of the wall enough to create space to put your phone or other items on. In this way, it would save the space of needing a nightstand, but would still provide the convenience. In the smallest room, adding any kind of a dresser would make the room feel crowded, so instead, I showed my friend that I wanted to create an open shelf and hanging rack. I also added a ladder shelf and baskets that could hold items like drawers. I had him build another shelf that came off of the wall where I could add a chair and a mirror to make it a vanity. Honestly, this room is small, but I absolutely love it. After he finished building each part of it, I painted each of them myself. A lot of the furniture was left in the house from the previous owners. I got rid of several items. Most of them I gave to my friend, and I also sold an item or two on Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace was definitely helpful as I purchased an item or two from there, but my absolute favorite part of this entire renovation project was going to the weekly markets to find treasures. Each town in this area of Spain has a market on a certain day of the week. Some of them are bigger and better than others. Basically, people come from all over and set up their little area. Some of it looks like it's from a garage sale. Some of it is knockoff new clothing. Some are select vintage items, and they also have areas for fresh fruit and vegetables, my favorite being the olive stand. Let me give you a comparison of buying from a store versus buying from the market. I have 2 terraces on my house. I needed to furnish each of them. Before learning about the markets, I decided to order a patio set online from Leroy Merlin. This included a table, 2 chairs, and a 2-person couch. It was made of a plastic style wicker and had cushions. I paid €200 for the patio set. The following week, I was at the market with my friend when I saw this beautiful solid wood patio furniture. I purchased 2 chairs and a table. They only cost me €30 and were far nicer than the other furniture. Only one set survived the first year on the patio in Spain, and it wasn't the one I had paid €200 for. From that point on, almost everything I bought was from the market, and honestly, it's so much fun. The only things I needed to buy from a store were mattresses, sheets, towels, and things of that sort for my future guests. In total, between buying new things for the house, buying supplies, paying for different bits of work to be done, and anything else that went into the renovation, I believe I spent around $5,000 or $6,000. We got the house into perfect condition, not only thinking about what I wanted for the house, but what we needed to do to make it a great vacation rental property. We got everything into place. I hired a property manager for when I was gone. I had listed the property several weeks before we were even finished, and I had my first booking, a couple coming for a month. They would be arriving just 3 days after I left. Now, all of this sounds wonderful. It was working out perfectly. But let me tell you about 3 specific challenges I faced during this time. I mentioned in the last video that it took a ridiculous amount of time to get the internet connected. This isn't a problem anymore if you buy a house in Spain, but for me this took a real toll on my mental and emotional state. Once I was standing in the street trying to use my neighbor's internet, which he had given me permission for, my front door blew shut and I was locked out of my house. Fortunately, some of the children saw, explained to my neighbor, and she kindly let me go through an upstairs room in her house to jump over my balcony, which had a door open, thank goodness. Next, a few weeks before I left Spain, my dad came to visit and helped out with the house. I took him to Valencia for the day, and my bag was stolen out of the trunk of the car. I had to make a last-minute trip to Barcelona to get an emergency passport. That felt crazy and wasn't something I had planned for, not to mention the €300 charge for the broken window that my dad kindly paid for. Most of my credit cards were stolen too, which really limited how I could spend money for my remaining time there. And last was the worst situation of all. One day, less than a week before I was leaving, I was walking through my newly tiled utility room when I realized that sewage was coming up through the floor. Raw sewage. I won't go into the disgusting specifics, but this led to over a week of confusing work, having to dig up the new tile in both the bathroom and the utility room, having to use bathrooms at coffee shops and a shower at my friend's house, using hired help from the street, my friend, my property manager, and a plumbing company. It was madness and it was disgusting. I couldn't even stay in Spain for all of it. This is where having good friends and good people around you is really amazing. I could never have done all of this without my friend Lee. He did so much for me during that time. I even have a picture of his grown son hanging with half of his body in the ground, pulling some disgusting stuff up from my sewage pipes. How do you even repay someone for something like that? I ended up having to provide a hotel room for the guests that were coming for the first few days of their stay. There was just no way around it. As it turns out, some of the old pipes had crumbled a bit. The property manager brought her husband to help at some point, and after putting in the new pipes, instead of dumping the landfill back in, they got creative and built around the pipes with bricks. Then on top, instead of retiling the area where the washer and dryer go, my friend Lee sealed a thick board that the washer and dryer could sit on top of. This way, if there were any future problems with the plumbing, we have direct access to the pipes without having to dig up the entire utility room again. I absolutely love creative solutions like this. I sometimes tend to romanticize things like the buying of a house in Spain. I would do it all over again, but it definitely has its challenges that come along with it. You have to be adaptable. Of course, you can always pay more to get a house that you really don't have to remodel. But if you want a house that will cost you less than $30,000, you should be ready to roll up your sleeves and adapt. In the next video, I will go over specifics of turning a house in Spain into a vacation rental. I'll cover what the requirements are, what the taxes are, the mistakes I made, and more. If you have enjoyed this video or have learned something new, please find that like button and subscribe to join me on this adventure where travel and fun build financial independence. I can't wait to see where your dreams will take you.